Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this EBSCO training session called Empowering Student Research with Explora and EBSCO's curated databases, provided to the Idaho Commission for Libraries. My name is Shayna. I am a senior customer training specialist with EBSCO. I live in New York, but I've been supporting our EBSCO clients all across North America. I'm very happy to be presenting today. The objectives are listed on the screen. We're going to cover the wealth of databases and unique content that EBSCO has to offer, including key databases for K-12 research like Primary Search, Middle Search Plus, MAS Ultra, Masterfile Premier, and Academic Search Premier. We'll also talk about how your students can navigate the Explora user interface to conduct quality search, and we'll show you how to utilize key features for basic and advanced searching, applying limiters and filters to refine your search results, and employing some important tools, including our citation tools, sharing tools, and saving tools. Before I dive into a live demonstration in the Explora user interface, I'd like to cover the key databases for K-12 research. We have Primary Search, which is a database curated for elementary school libraries, including access to over 100 of the most popular children's magazines, full text for those magazines with easy to read encyclopedic entries for your kiddos. Some of the full text magazines from Cricket Media include Ask and Ladybug and Spider. Popular full text magazines like Ranger Rick and Time for Kids. Reference ebooks from top children's publishers, including Cherry Lake Publishing and Learner Publishing Group. We also have the Middle Search Plus database, curated for your middle school libraries, which include more than 170 popular magazines, more than 400 full-text ebooks, more than 55,000 primary source documents, and more than 10,000 videos. Some of the titles your students will enjoy in Middle Search Plus include some of the similar ones. Also, Ranger Rick, Sports Illustrated, and those cricket titles. We also have access to some great sports magazines, including Dirt Bike, Golf, and Sports Illustrated. And in terms of the 400 full-text ebooks from popular educational publishers, you'll see some of those titles depicted here as well. And moving on, we have MAS Ultra for your high school students, including full text access to more than 450 popular high school magazines, more than 530 ebooks, reference and nonfiction, 55,000 full text primary source documents, and more than 75,000 videos from the Associated Press. And we're just showcasing some of those key magazines, including Time, The Nation, History Today, The New Republic. We also have Archaeology, The New Scientist, Discover, and then some top nonfiction and reference ebooks from the top educational publishers we mentioned earlier. Some title cover art is depicted there. And then in terms of the 55,000 full text primary source documents, we've got some important documents, including the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Lincoln-Douglas debates, the McCarthy hearings, Kennedy's inaugural address, the Gettysburg Address. Moving on, Masterfile Premier contains over 1,500 full-text magazines and periodicals, over 750 full-text ebooks, those primary source documents, and over 2.4 million photos, maps, and flags, covering all subject areas, including business, health, education, general science, and multicultural issues. Masterfile is the primary database for public library access. So some great titles you'll find in Masterfile include Consumer Reports, Newsweek, Rolling Stone, and some of the similar sports magazines like Golf and Sports Illustrated. And in terms of political magazines, we provide popular titles across the political spectrum, from The Nation through The New Republic to the National Review. You have access to full text for all of these, for balanced viewpoints across the political spectrum. And last but not least, lining up our key databases for academic research, for K-12 research, we've got Academic Search Premier, primarily for academic students, but we also make this available in our high school version of Explora for more sophisticated research at the higher academic levels for your high school students. So with Academic Search Premier, students have access to almost 3,000 full-text journals and magazines. Over 2,600 of them are peer-reviewed or from peer-reviewed journals. Over 1,300 of them are from full-text peer-reviewed journals with no embargo, so no limits on when that content is released. And then over 2,200 of them are indexed in the Web of Science or Scopus. So Academic Search Premier, key database. You'll see active full text in this screenshot from many different countries and regions. Just some key highlights out of Asia, we've got over 150. Mainland Europe, over 640. In the UK and Ireland, over 1,100, and in the United States, 700. And then those that are available or in leading indexes like APA PsycInfo, Alta Religion, Science Citation Index, Scopus, Social Science Citation Index, and Web of Science. So before I dive in to discuss the user interface by which all of those databases are viewable, I want to talk about why we're showcasing Explora for your K-12 research. We conducted some research EBSCO conducted research for our novice researchers. And we learned that, of course, not news, but our students are accustomed to using Google. It's their everything. We also learned that students struggle with starting research. They're more visual. They like to see fewer words on the page. And their feelings as it pertains to conducting research include feeling overwhelmed, stressed, frustrated. And we wanted to turn that around to provide an interface that helped your students feel productive and confident and successful. So we created what we call Explora, and it is an interface that allows you to conduct simple and advanced research, but we provide carefully curated categories with a visual entry point to help browse popular search topics and subtopics, which is ideal for your novice researchers who may not know what to enter in that keyword search box or how to utilize keywords to begin with, right? In addition to that visual entry point, we provide topic overviews, which summarize the main topics of interest. We also are Explora is equipped with those powerful filters that you may be accustomed to in EBSCO Host, allowing your students to quickly narrow their search results. Some support for students specifically, we've got text-to-speech. Helps students who are struggling readers, auditory learners, those learning English. You also have the ability to download the audio into an MP3 file for accessibility. We have a citation tool that allows your students to copy and paste references or export them. And then we also have cloud integrations with Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive to enable students to quickly save and share their research. Additional support for students, translation, so the interface can be translated in 30 languages. And then the full text of articles can be translated in 110 languages. So if you have students who prefer to read in their native tongue, we've got that dynamic translation. Or students who are maybe learning a new language. Students who are learning Spanish can have an article translated in that language in order to facilitate their understanding of the new language they're learning. And in terms of accessibility, Explora meets Section 508 compliance accessibility standards. We're also working towards WCAG 2.1 AA compliance. And then we are COPA compliant. So when utilizing the Explora user interface, students aren't asked for any personal information like an email address or a last name when they want to create a personal account. And in terms of support for educators, some key things, we have ways to filter our results by lexile measures. So if you want to identify appropriate reading complexity for articles, you can filter by lexile ranges. We have lesson plans, curriculum standards, and of course, content can be shared with Google Classroom. And we also integrate with the most popular learning management systems. We have an LTI version 1.3 tool that you can use as an external tool if you utilize learning management systems like Schoology, Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle, or D2L. All right, so I've said a lot. I am ready to demonstrate Explora, how you can search those key databases for K-12 research. Any questions or requests or anything that makes you wonder, feel free to unmute or enter your questions or requests in the chat. All right, so let's exit out of actually, before I exit out, let me go back in. And I'm going to share, along with the recording, I will share some helpful resources for learning beyond today's session. I have shared some links here to a quick start guide about Explora, a feature benefit summary, information about accessibility with our interface and with our ebooks, and also some resources on how to enable Explora, some setup best practices, a link to our promotion kit, and we even have an escape room activity for middle schools and school students, in addition to other promotional resources all available at EBSCO Connect. All right, so I'll exit out here and I'm going to pull up the lilly.org site. So this is where many of your students may access Explora and those key databases. You can search by database name, by topic, or by user group. Let's just go to maybe, for instance, grades 5 to 8 here, or actually I'll just go by topic. Maybe we'll start with elementary. I'll go ahead and just choose elementary out of my options here. I'll click go. And then you will see that we have our listing alphabetically. If I wanted to highlight or look for Explora, I can just click the E's and that will quickly get me to the Explora for middle school students. Also here we have access to the primary school version and public library, as well as secondary. So there are different versions of Explora. And that's why I wanted to have that discussion up front about the different databases. So your primary version for your grades 5 or younger, grades K through 4 rather, really focuses on the early elementary ages, and it has the primary search database loaded for that Explora user interface. The middle school has your Middle Search Plus, your public library version has all of that plus master file Premier. Secondary version for your high school students has MOS Ultra. So we have curated the list of databases by the different versions of Explora for your users. So we can assure that our primary students aren't accessing content that is beyond or above their level of learning. All right, so this is where you access. I'm actually going to take the back door and load the primary version to start. And then we can go in and see the differences between primary and secondary, middle school, and so forth. So I'm looking at the primary version. It says Explore for primary grades. And as I mentioned, if you want to see the different databases that your K through 4 students are searching, you can click the All Databases link here above the search box, and it will show you that we are searching topic overviews for K through 5, primary search and newspaper source plus. Okay. If you, as an end user or an instructor, you can actually select, if you only want to see primary search or exclude newspaper source plus, you can do so. But by default, they're all selected, and we'll just click update to bring us back to the landing page. So if you're accustomed to EBSCO Host, this is a different experience, a more visual experience, a more browsable experience for your novice researchers. We always have a key image that is an engaging image, especially for primary students, with topics that are appropriate, age appropriate content. So the primary version is focusing on bears today. As you actually update or refresh your page or go away from this landing page and back to it, it will rotate through the other key or featured topics, which you can rotate through in that image here with the arrows in the lower right corner. So it will update to other topics like the North Pole or sharks, punctuation, the ozone, and eyes. 3 branches of government. Simple topics for students in the primary grades. Okay? Notice that each has a quick summary and hyperlinks for the title, which will execute a search on that topic. So as a student comes to this landing page, if they are interested in exploring bears, they can click bears, and that will bring them to search results on bears. So we can see the topic is now in our search box. It's going to bring us to search results within those 3 databases, which amounts to over 400,000 search results on bears. Which are listed as we scroll down. At the top of our search results, though, you will see a topic overview, which is going to summarize this topic for your novice researcher. 9 times out of 10, I don't think I've seen anything other than an encyclopedia entry for a topic overview. So it's going to summarize bears with this encyclopedia entry from Salem Press. Topic overviews always have a little light bulb icon indicating that it's not part of the search results list per se. It's actually a summary provided for your students before they dive into articles about bears. All right. We also organize our content for the 420,000 resources by articles, ebooks, reference resources, and videos. So if there are ebooks pertaining to bears, you can click quickly to that ebooks tab. We actually don't have any for the databases selected here, so it's just going to be a 0. But if we want to just see the articles, we've got 360,000. Let's see reference resources. There should be some. There are 69 reference resources. And let's see if there are any videos. No videos. All right. So that's one way to filter the resources. There are other quick filters available to your students here. You can filter, it's automatically filtering to full text resources only, but you can filter to resources published within the past year, 5 years, or 10 years. You can also filter by source type. So if a student is only interested in news articles or magazines or encyclopedia entries, or even primary source documents, they can make selections from this source type limiter. To see all limiters for more advanced research and filtering, you can click the All Filter button right below that search box, and that will expose the All Filters panel on the right where you can employ more filters. This is where you can, as a user or an administrator or an instructor, filter by Lexile range. So if we have a primary student who wants an article about bears, who may be reading at a higher reading complexity, you can choose a higher Lexile range here or a simpler Lexile range in the lower range, maybe in the 500s. And there is a hit count in brackets letting you know how many resources, for instance, are between the 501 and 850 Lexile range. So just some options here. You can also filter by publication. So if you're only interested in articles published in the maybe Canadian Geographic, you can make selections here. So let me close the All Filters panel. That's a quick overview of the results page. Let me click back to the landing page. If you want that visual landing page, you'll always want to click the Explora logo in the upper left corner, which will bring you back. And as I mentioned, it's going to rotate through those featured topics. So now we're taking a look at the North Pole. We also have those featured topics available in these pill buttons. So if you wanted to get back to that bears topic and maybe just execute a search, you could click the pill and it will bring you back to the search results under this discover popular topics. Now let's take a look at the other browsable options. So what sets Explora apart from our other interfaces like EBSCO host is this browsable feature here. So we've got topics that are popular for primary grades, popular subject areas like animals, arts and music, people, geography, language arts, health, technology, and so forth. So a student who may not know what to enter in the search box, what are you looking for? They can browse by topics. Let's say they definitely have a research paper or book report on animals. They can come into the animals topic, and then that's going to bring us to the landing page on all things animals, which will then provide subcategories of animals. Are you interested in conducting research on mammals or fish and sea creatures, birds, bugs, worms, and insects? Let's take a look at bugs, worms, and insects. And then that will bring us to other subcategories within bugs, worms, and insects. Maybe I'm interested in spiders, mites, and ticks. I'll go ahead and click that. And now we're taking a look at even more subtopics: spiders, spider mites, scorpions, and ticks. Let's take a look at scorpions. And now we are brought to search results, starting at the top with the topic overview on scorpions. So if I want to learn more about scorpions, read an encyclopedia entry, I can click the learn more. Read more hyperlink, or I can view results. Um, the first three will be presented with a link to view all results about scorpions. Okay, so that's another browsable way to conduct research. Um, let's scroll down to the next section. We have another way to keep the landing page fresh with some questions. Who scratches the rhino's itch? It's just a way to keep the um, landing page exciting, curious for your students, fresh and new. So if you're interested in learning about who scratches the rhino's itch, we can go ahead and learn more about that. This is just a spotlight that's updated frequently. Scrolling down, we have featured collections. So some of those key magazines and journals available for primary research are accessible here. So if you want to conduct a title level search for Highlights Magazine, Cricket Magazine, Primary Sources, Ranger Rick, and Time for Kids, you can access those publications right here in the feature collections. I'll go ahead and click Time for Kids, for instance, and it's searching for all things published in Time for Kids in 2024. So this is just one way to access resources. And you'll see that these are all published. These are all articles published in Time for Kids. And you can see that information in the metadata here under the title. Okay, so that's just one way to conduct research as well. Let me go back to the landing page. Now we're featuring solar power. So that's just to orient you to our primary version. Let me actually now switch gears to show you the difference between the primary version. I'm going to jump over the middle school version to the secondary version just for time's sake. Actually, no, I'll quickly go into each. So let me move over. I'm going to just take the back door here. Ignore what you're looking at for a second. I'm going to go to Explore Middle School. And then I'll go into the high school or secondary version. So middle school, same layout, just more mature content. We can see the databases that have been curated for your middle school students. So now we're searching Funk and Wagnall's New World Encyclopedia, the Middle Search Plus database, and that ebook collection, newspaper source, primary search, and topic overviews for grades 6 through 12. All right, so content more mature. So now we've got topics like NATO in the featured image, Sonia Sotomayor, Hispanic Heritage Month, which ends tomorrow. So you'll find also that the popular topics often are seasonal, based on current events or any special holidays and celebrations that will be focused on for the season or the month. All right. So moving on, we've got ozone depletion. So if you recall, the primary version also had ozone as a featured topic, but it just said ozone. So now for middle school, we're talking about ozone depletion in particular. So a little bit more mature topics. We still have the ability to explore by popular topics discussed or studied at the middle school level. Some maybe many similar topics, some that may differ. Maybe life skills is a different topic presented in the upper grades, but you can explore in the same way. So let's take a look at health. That's going to bring us to the subtopics of health. So are you interested in emotional and mental health? Nutrition and physical wellness, hot topics in health, environmental and public health, um, and so forth. Your health and well-being. You can click in and then explore some subtopics within health and well-being. like braces. Very appropriate for your middle school students. I'll go ahead and execute a search on braces. And now we can see some related topic overviews, orthopedic braces. And then we have some results and featured content, as well as some videos. Now, remember, we have some videos for middle school and high school from the Associated Press. All right, so we've got a video on back and neck braces. Let's take a look at that multimedia asset.
The spine is a column of bones, discs, connective tissue, and muscles, designed to provide support for the head and neck.
All right, so that's actually not Associated Press. This is a resource provided by Blausen Medical Communications. So some great content. The details on this video are provided right below the video that we're viewing here. So we can see the title, the summary, the duration for the video. Keywords, and this is actually coming from the Consumer Health Video Collection, to which you also subscribe. So we're integrating some of those resources here. All right, so let's go back to the landing page. Oops, actually, this popped us into a multimedia assets page since I accessed a video. If we wanted to search for additional videos that are available in the Explora Middle School version, I can search by keyword here. But let's click back to our Explora Middle School. All right. Once again, feature collections, those journals and magazines available for your middle school students. Once again, more mature content. If you want to conduct a research in the publication Science News or American Heritage, you can do that. And in this case, we have a spotlight on primary source documents. If you want to learn more about what that is as a middle school researcher, you can click the learn more link to do so. And then we have some featured ebook content, okay? That is highlighted here in this little carousel that you can click through, okay? All right, so that's your middle school version. Now, just for continuity, let me go back to my back end or back door and access the version for your secondary, which is your high school students. And in this version, we're searching 28 databases. Students can make individual selections here, but you can see a lot more is available here, including academic search. There goes that Consumer Health Complete database that we accessed that Blausen video from. We've got a number of ebook collections, Health Source, Green File, Master File Premier, and MOS Ultra. So lots of resources for your students, including topic overviews for grades 6 through 12. All right, so we can see how we curate the databases depending on the user group, all right, to make sure that your students are accessing appropriate content within the Explora interface. Let me pause here and see if we have any questions before we maybe conduct a few searches to explore a few more of those advanced search features. Okay, so I will continue to check the chat, but since we are in the secondary version, I also want to point out some additional features available to your students. Natural language is an option for conducting research that is available on the landing page of this Explora interface. And so for students who may not know what to enter in the keyword search box here, you can toggle on natural language search, which doesn't require keywords. A student can enter a question in the natural language search box. In the form of a natural language question or query, which approximates what they may be accustomed to when utilizing tools like Siri or Alexa or even Google. So we can say, you know, what are the latest advancements? Actually, it's providing some suggestions here. I'll just type in climate change. So I'm interested in learning what are the latest advancements in climate change, and I'll execute that search. Now I have toggled on natural language search, so it's taking my query And AI is going to interpret my intention here. If I want to check if AI interpreted it correctly, we do have a hyperlink to show the refined query. So what our AI is doing when natural language search is toggled on is it's taking my phrase or my question and converting that into a Boolean. So we can see what AI did. So it took climate change or global warming and combined that with advancement or development or innovation. And then it's going to deliver search results, of which we can see 66 search results based on that natural language query. So just another way for your students to enter something in that search box. They don't have to rely on knowing what a keyword is. They can just enter a question or a phrase. All right, so that's just another way to utilize this UI to search those databases. Now let's take a look at some of our, actually, now since we have the videos enabled within this version of Explore, we do have some videos. Actually, maybe not with my topic here, but the video content would have been available had I conduct that search earlier on that health topic. But let's see if we have any reference resources within the search results. And we do. We have 87 reference resources on climate change. Uh, this one happens to be an encyclopedia entry, the Kyoto Conference on Greenhouse Gases. We can access this. And then we've got a number of articles available. Okay. And then let's see if we have any ebooks on climate change. And we do. 409 ebooks are accessible. All right. And we can see the access options for this particular ebook. We have PDF and EPUB. EPUB is a great format for accessibility purposes because it has reflowable texts. And depending on the resource you're viewing this platform in, whether it's a desktop or laptop or phone, it will automatically adjust the page or the text to accommodate the screen size. So that's what that EPUB does. But we also have the traditional PDF for viewing the ebooks. So just another option here. Let's take a look at articles. And there are many for our natural language search. So let's take a look at some of the access options. Let's see. We do have options here. This one happens to be very recent. This one was published, conversation here in Time Magazine just yesterday. If you wanted to filter the results by the most recently published, you do have the ability to sort by date newest or date oldest if you're looking for maybe a primary source document. But the default is to sort by relevance based on your terms or your query. So we'll stick with relevance. This happens to be a very recent one. I'll go ahead and take a look at access options. I do have two options, PDF and online full text. Actually, let me demonstrate another tool available now within our user interfaces before I dive into the full text. Now, most of our researchers are accustomed to taking a look at the metadata here, the title, the publishing information. We can take a look at the abstract, which is a summary of the key concepts for the article to judge whether this is a relevant resource. But we also have, and it included, we've got the hyperlinks to the subject terms as well. So our advanced researchers know what this all means. For our novice researchers, we have another way to summarize an article, and that's with the Generate AI Insights button here. This is going to also utilize AI to summarize the article in 2 to 5 bullet points, depending on the length of the article. So clicking Generate AI Insights, it will generate it dynamically for the session you're in. Once you click that button, we'll demonstrate that. And so for your novice researcher, before you access the full text, we can get a quick summary. All right, so we've got 4 bullet points about this article. We can review. If we found this helpful, we can upvote it with a yes or no vote it with a no button here. And so if I do, once I review the bullet points here, which helps to, evaluate a resource efficiently, I can now access the full text. So that's the idea of utilizing AI Insights just for quick summary prior to reviewing the full text. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the full text options. We've got PDF and we've got online full text. I'll start with the online full text. which is going to strip the article of formatting and imagery and just deliver the text. We're taking a look at this article called Conversation, published in Time Magazine just yesterday, October 13th, 2025. The database it's coming from is Moss Ultra School Edition. We'll review the article. We have several tools in the upper right corner, which we'll discuss now. If I want to save this article, I can click that flag icon and save it. It lets me know that my item has been saved. In my dashboard, I can come back to it for my session, or if I want to save it long term, I would need to create a personal account to save that long term. We have the cite icon, the quote icon, which gives us access to our citation modal. Your institution can have a default citation mode. If APA is your default, then we can select it here. If it's not, and a user has been instructed to cite utilizing MLA 9th edition, for instance, they can choose that citation format. The citation will be presented with a link to copy it to their clipboard, and they can post that or paste that citation right into their research. We also have the ability to export the citation utilizing a citation tool of choice depicted here. So that's your cite, your cite options. We have the add to project. This is a organizational structure for students who are logged into their personal My EBSCO account. This allows them to move articles into categories or folders. This is our old folder structure now called projects. So let's say we have a student who is interested in or conducting research on climate change. They could create a folder or a project rather called climate change and move relevant articles and resources into it. This is a function of the My EBSCO account, and they can sign in to do that. Optional though. Next, we have the share tool, which is that arrow that gives you access to the cloud options to share with your Google Drive or Google Classroom or OneDrive. You can also create or access the persistent link with that paperclip icon that will give you the link to copy to your clipboard and share. But keep in mind, all of our new user interfaces, the URL in the browser is actually a persistent link now. So you don't have to pull that link off of that paperclip icon. You can just grab it from the browser URL and share it well. Your authentication, preferred authentication for your institution is hidden within that URL. So whoever you share that URL with will have to authenticate in the same way the other students authenticated to access these resources through the lilly.org site or maybe your individual library website. All right, so those are our share options. We've got the download option where you can download the full text when available as a PDF or an HTML. Or if you only want to download the metadata, you can choose a format to download that metadata. Moving on, we have print option. I'll just jump over that, pretty self-explanatory. Next is the world icon, the translate tool. This gives you, your users, access to translate this article into 110 different languages. They're listed here alphabetically, but you can choose a language. Let me translate it into Filipino. Utilizing Microsoft, which is machine translation, so it's not as perfect as a native speaker, but utilizing Microsoft, it pretty much gets the job done. A great tool, once again, for students who maybe prefer to read in their native tongue, or maybe they're learning a new language and would like to test their skills. So, and also for accessibility, we have these options here. So now reviewing this article in Filipino, we can see that it's translated by Microsoft over in the left column. I can click quickly back to the native or the original language, English in this case, and now we're viewing the article once again. Let's close that translate tool. Next is the table of contents. Not much for this article since it's so brief, but you can imagine if this was a book, you could jump around into different chapters of the book, or if it was a longer article, you can jump around into different paragraphs within the article. Next is the publication contents. This actually gives you access to other articles published in this journal for this issue. So in addition to this conversation article, published in Time Magazine for October 13th, we have access to other articles. Let's take a look at Shifting Winds. And now we're viewing that article. Okay, so that's what the publication contents is a browsable option for articles published in the same issue of that journal or magazine. All right, let's close that publication contents. Next, we have the listen, the headphone icon, which is our read speaker tool to have the article read aloud. Once again, another accessibility feature. We have tools to play, fast forward, and rewind to control the volume, the playback speed. We can also download the audio into an MP3 file here and even control the text highlighting for this version, which is the HTML. Let me go ahead and click play so you can hear this being read aloud.
Section. Follow the money business shifting winds. How major banks like JP Morgan are rethinking their climate strategies this spring.
All right, so that's the text to speech. Hopefully you heard that clear. And we'll close that. Next, we have our accessibility support icon, which is our latest edition, which just launched, I believe, last month. If a user needs a more accessible format, you can click this accessibility support icon. Now, since we're accessing accessibility support within Explora, which is a COPA compliant interface, a student-friendly interface, it does ask for age verification. We want to make sure for accessibility support that there's an appropriate age. So I'm going to go ahead and enter over 18, which allows me to access that accessibility support. I'll verify, and now I have access to my accessibility support for users with disabilities. This allows for content remediation requests, providing an accessible format for the article. You can enter your name, email address, and that's what makes this COPA compliant because it says asking for personal information. And so since we're accessing it through Explora, there's a restriction for students who are under age. So I'll go ahead and notice here that I'll enter my email address, select the format that I need it remediated, and then it lets us know that a remediated version of this article will be provided from our content remediation department within 3 to 5 business days. So that's the latest tool available in our toolbar in the upper right corner. Let me go back to our search results and show you that same original article called Conversation, now in PDF format. So it's going to be like looking at the article in the way in which it was published in the magazine, Time. All right, so now we're taking a look at the article, Conversation. Actually, this is a page called Conversation, so maybe not the article. Let's take a look at, let's go back to the Shifting Winds article, an actual article here. So now we're taking a look at this article. We can review it in the way in which it was published, complete with imagery. Many of our tools are similar: save, cite, folder, project folder rather, share, download, print. Noticeably missing is that translate feature because it's treating this article as an image, so it can't translate the text. But text-to-speech is available, similar to the PDF version, and accessibility support is also. All right, so those are those options for full text viewing. Let me go back to our search results. Since we have so many, there are 51,000, I do have some bulk options. These are more advanced features that I'm showing, but I'm going to click that little button and it will expose the different bulk options. So if I wanted to save in bulk, download in bulk, share in bulk, and cite in bulk, I can select up to, and it's going to pre-select based on the number that are showing 10 results at a time. So let me just save the first 10 items, and it lets me know that those are saved. Those will be available in my dashboard over on the left. So if I click the saved icon here, those 10 articles in my search results would be listed here. So now I have access to these in my dashboard under the save icon. So this will be available as long as I am in this session. If I wanted to save these 10 articles beyond today's session, that is where I would have to click my EBSCO in the upper right corner and sign in, or right here where it says save progress, I could sign in or create an account. All right, so that's the way that my dashboard works. Let me just close that and go backward to our search results. All right, so let me pause here and see if we had any questions in the chat. Don't see any. Let me click back home and see if there are any topics or areas that you would like me to spend a little bit more time on. I know that primary source documents tend to be really important for K-12 research. So let's take a look at some of those primary source documents. I spent a lot of time in the secondary version. Let me click back to the, let me close that multimedia assets. Let's go back to middle school. All right, so I'm going to go into history. Let's take a look at history topics. There are a lot of primary source documents as it relates to history. I'll scroll down, and within history, I'm not interested in early civilizations. I'm actually interested in U.S. history. So let me go ahead and click U.S. history. And within U.S. history, am I interested in the American Revolution, the civil rights, elections, the Dust Bowl? Let's go ahead and click, let's see, the U.S. Civil War. That's what I'm interested in. So you can see how I'm browsing without entering anything in my search box. I can arrive at a category that is relevant to my research. I can explore Civil War topics. I can discover subtopics within the Civil War, like the Underground Railroad, the Confederacy, slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation, the abolitionist movement. Maybe I am interested in the Emancipation Proclamation, so I'm going to explore that topic. So it's bringing me to that where I can review a topic overview. I can review related topics. Maybe I'm interested in exploring topics related to Abraham Lincoln. I can also see a few search results here and even ebook content and video content. I'm actually going to, excuse me, take a look at the view all results. Okay, and so on all results, we have over 2,000 search results related to the Emancipation Proclamation. And I mentioned I was interested in primary source documents. So let's take a look at that source type. We do have some primary source documents. There are 13. So I'm going to go ahead and filter by primary source documents and apply. And here we go. I can take a look at a number of them. At the very top, there's actually the Emancipation Proclamation. And we can see that it says the article presents the text of the Emancipation Proclamation issued on January 1st, 1863 by Abraham Lincoln. Let me go ahead and access that. And now we're taking a look at the text of the Emancipation Proclamation for students who may need that to utilize in their research. Since we're viewing this as an HTML, all of those tools, including the translate tool, the text-to-speech tool, are available to your students, and even the citation, as well as a save item. So that's just one way to access a primary source document within the Explora user interface. Actually, let me go back to our search results. And let's see, did we have any video content? Yeah, we do. We can take a look at the Associated Press looks at Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation video. The candidate-owned document editing U.S. slavery up for sale. Auction of important historical American documents available. So lots of videos related that we can access here. Let's see reference resources, ebooks. Specifically for Emancipation Proclamation, it's all results. These are actually, that's why it's being limited, because I limited by primary source document. Let me deselect that to return to the 2,000 resources. And let's see what reference resources are available. And there are 28. Okay. Ebooks. We've got one. And of course, the majority of which are articles. All right. So I've got 10 minutes left. I think I have covered, actually, no, I did not. I want to cover some more advanced search topics. Everything we've done to this point has been a search for topics and articles to support your research, right? So you can use these topical, browsable topics to explore and discover by subject area. And I did talk about some of the featured collections, but if you wanted to conduct a search for a particular publication, in addition to scrolling through the featured collections carousel on the main page, you can actually access the Publications Authority under Research Tools on the left. Or if you go to the Advanced Search link on this landing page, you'll find the Publications tab halfway down the page, where you can conduct a search for different journal and magazine titles. Okay? So you can either access it here on Advanced Search or on the Publications Authority link in the left navigation. So when you're on the Publications tab, you'll ignore what's up at the top here. You'll search for publications in the different databases that are enabled for your Explora user interface. So we have Middle Search Plus, Newspaper Source, Primary Search. So if you're interested in which titles are available in any of these databases, you can then conduct a search for that title. So for our database, let's take a look at Time Magazine. So I'm just going to search for Time. Notice that I can also search alphabetically using the A to Z listing here, but I'm going to enter Time. I'm going to search alphabetically, but I can also search by matching any words or by subject and description. So I'll go ahead and execute the search by an alphabetical listing of publications that start with Time. All right, so we've got several options. Time for Kids, grades 3 to 4, grades 5 through 6, the News Scoop Edition, Time Magazine, and even some matches that don't really fit. Timeline of the Roman Republican Empire, because I just started with Time. All right, so I'm interested in the Time Magazine title. These are all hyperlinks. I can see that the Time Magazine title is available for full text viewing as PDF or HTML. I'll click the hyperlink to get to the publication details page. It will provide a definition on what Time Magazine is. I can see the ISSN number, publisher information. It lets me know that I have access to full text from 1985 to the present. And over to the right is our all issues and articles by year dating back to that 1985 start for this database and this publication. And if I'm interested in looking by year at the issues, I can click any of these years. I'm going to click the most recent, 2025, and I have access to all of these issues for 2025. All right, the most recent is for October 13th. And if I wanted to execute a search for all articles published in that issue, I can click this hyperlink, which will then bring me to search results, and notice how my search is built. So this is a great way to teach utilizing our JN for journal, Time Magazine, and date, 2025, October 13th. All right. So this is a great way to teach how our advanced researchers could enter keywords utilizing those field codes and so forth. But getting to our results, there are 113-ish articles published in Time Magazine for this latest issue, and we're now viewing those articles with the opportunity to click into any of them. So maybe I'll review this article, The Art of Being the Boss, which I can view as a PDF or online full text. But you understand how to view full text. Let's go back to the publication details. In addition to looking for issues and articles for Time Magazine by year, I also have the ability to conduct a search within Time Magazine by clicking this little tick box next to Time Magazine and then entering my search term. So just getting back to our topic, which was climate change, I can go ahead and enter climate change. Maybe I should spell it correctly. And now I'm looking for articles about climate change published in Time Magazine. I'll go ahead and execute my search. And we have 533 search results where climate change is actually a subject term within the article, so published in Time Magazine. So we've got this article, A Deadly Flash. We can see the subject terms include climate change. I can generate AI insights to get a summary of that article. I can also just access the full text here. All right, so that is another way to utilize our search box here to conduct a search within the publication. All right, last but not least, we have, and I will click back to the landing page, subject search, subject's authority. So another way to start to introduce more advanced terms for your K-12 researchers. This may be more appropriate for the high school level. So let me go back into the high school secondary grades. Here we have the subject's authority. So instead of conducting a keyword search, utilizing natural language search, you can also conduct a search by terms as they're indexed in the databases that you're researching. Of course, as researchers, you all understand subject's authority. You can either access it here over on the left side of your screen, or if you click Advanced Search, the Subjects tab will also allow you to conduct a search by subject term as they're indexed in the databases that you're searching. So subjects brings you to the databases. Remember, in the secondary version, we're searching many databases. So you will have to specify which database you are interested in searching the terms as they're indexed. So we will take a look at the different databases. We talked about academic search. That was one of the key databases. So we'll stick with academic search. And now I can conduct a a search for a subject term as it's indexed in academic search. So let me see. Maybe I'm interested in conducting a search on, let's see. Maybe I can entertain, if you'd like to enter something in the chat just for some interactivity, I can conduct a search for a subject term within the Academic Search Premier database. If you have any ideas, let me know. Okay. If not, I'm going to enter international relations. I'm interested in seeing if international relations is a term indexed in Academic Search Premier and if it will provide articles related to the subject term. So I'm going to go ahead and enter or click that magnifying glass. And international relations is a term that is indexed in Academic Search Premier. We can see that it's hyperlinked here, and it has a plus sign, which means that there are related terms or narrower terms, which I can explode, which will include the narrower terms within international relations, and it will explode my search to include all of those narrower terms. Maybe I don't want to explode. Maybe I'm only interested in international relations, and maybe I'll explore a few of these narrower terms. Maybe I'm interested in international relations and diplomacy. So now I've selected a narrower term and my main term, and I can use the AND operator to combine those terms to add that to my search. So I've clicked the add to search, so I can scroll up here and we can see how these two subject terms, international relations and diplomacy, has been built for my search as they're indexed in the database Academic Search. So I've executed that search, and that should provide a more refined set of resources because now it's only looking at these articles with these subject terms, international relations and diplomacy. And we can see that those are actually italicized and bolded, showing us that those are terms for each of these resources, which provides a much more relevant search result set as opposed to the keyword search. All right, so some great tools to teach your students as they learn more and more about research. We've got some basic search with our browsable topics and advanced search options with subjects authority, publications authority, applying limiters and filters. I hope that I have shown you the strength of the Explora user interface to make your students feel confident and successful in their research. And I hope that you will utilize this, teach it for your students to encourage them and embolden them for their academic career. So thank you for your time and attention. I do want to end with a quick link to some resources on our support site called EBSCO Connect. If you want to learn more about all things Explora, you can just enter Explora in the search box here. Or if you're interested in, oops, I don't know why that did that. Let's try again. Enter Explora, and then all of our relevant articles and resources related to Explora will come up on our search results here. We've got an entire promotion kit if we're interested in. We'll access that promotion kit. And here you can access our entire social media kit. We've got some handouts, bookmarks and posters, lesson plans for teachers, even rubrics, sample promotional text, scavenger hunts, lesson plans by discipline like history, social studies, language arts, science, and even some multidisciplinary lesson plans for your students. So great resources for educators and students alike on our promotion kit for Explora. All right, that does it for me. Any questions before we end today's session? All right, well, thank you everyone for your time and attention. I'll follow up with a link to this recording in addition to the helpful resources available on that PowerPoint with the links out to resources here on EBSCO Connect. Thank you, Marina, Shannon, Megan. You were wonderful and have a great rest of your day. Look out for that recording, hopefully by tomorrow if I don't get to it today. Thank you again. Bye-bye now.